to donate $99 to support the programs that make the Bashor mission come alive here on this campus. Providing help for today and hope for tomorrow. And we are not beyond providing a little bit of an incentive. You get a rather special Bashor 99 t-shirt when you make your contribution. So donate $99, receive the great 99 Club t-shirt, and you'll receive the satisfaction of being able to help the many programs that are on campus here, a lot of which come to fruition at this time of the year, the last 6 weeks of the year, the holiday season, a whole bunch of things going on here on the campus. And we'll talk a little bit about those as we go through the night. Go to bashor.org, click on the 99 Club icon, and that's it. That's all you have to do. We do want to say thank you to one of our supporting sponsors, Obico Corporation, your custom sewing manufacturing specialists. Our thanks to Obico. And we'll be saying thank you to a couple of other folks as we navigate our way through this half hour on the 99 Club. We say hello and welcome to Reggie Shetler. Reggie's been here a long time. Reggie is the behavior specialist for the SHARE program. It is a program included in the education department here on the campus of Bashor Children's Home. So Reggie, again, thanks for taking time out of the evening and chatting with us a little bit about the mission and your connection to the mission and the SHARE program as well.
Well, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to have a conversation with you tonight.
Sounds good. Let's talk first of all a little bit about Reggie. If you've done this 90 or not 99 years, that would make you one of the Bashors. But if you've done this 19 years, obviously there's something here that clicks and has become a part of your DNA. First of all, just tell us a little bit about how you started and how you've navigated through those 19 years.
Okay. Well, before I worked here, I think is kind of where my journey started. Growing up, my dad had started a church, and I heard lots of stories, Pastor Mel, about a place called Teen Haven. Mm-hmm. To our shelter care at Bashor, kids, mostly from the ages of 17 to 20 off the streets. And just hearing those stories that kind of my dad doing what he did there and dealing with some of the biker gangs and different things. And it kind of just kind of sounded interesting to me and something that just kind of was in my DNA. And, so I was working landscape, a summer job, and someone was like, hey, I think you should probably check Bashor out. And came over here and been here ever since.
So walk us through the different steps. You started where, and then how did you work your way up through the program?
So I started off at the emergency shelter care, and I was there for about 7 years, working directly with the kids. And then I shuffled around to a couple of the other residential units. I was at Glendenning at the time, which was a girls unit for about 3 years. And then moved from there down into the school. And I was the behavior specialist for the alternative education side of things for about 7 years. And then the last 2 years have been over in the SHARE side of the residential students for the kids who are the residential school kids coming to school.
You are an influence, obviously, on some of the kids. So influence is a pretty important word. And let's talk about some of the influences for you, because, well, first of all, you come from a very strong nuclear family. The Shetler family has been in service to the Goshen area through Maple City Chapel for a long time. Your brother is the current pastor, correct? And your Father Mel, Freudian slip. Sorry about that, Pastor Mel, founder of Maple City Chapel, and going along through that. Sean McCrindle, your brother-in-law, is the CEO now here at Bashor Children's Home. So when you gather around the Thanksgiving table, you're gathering an awful lot of service that you can swap and share. Now, the interesting dynamic to that is you have this really strong nuclear family that you're a part of in this service, and you're dealing with young people who don't have that. Does that give you a little bit of extra empathy when you deal with these young people, especially around holiday time?
I think it does. And I think at first, when you are just so ingrained in that growing up in it, you don't necessarily realize that not everybody was like you. And so the first few years here was quite a bit of a shock to a lot of the stuff that the kids were doing, because I was just so used to this bubble that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And so it definitely was like, man, these kids don't have what I had, and they just need people to love on them.
When you think about the family, and especially where the service end comes from, what do you think helps drive you then as a result of being surrounded by that?
I think just knowing that these kids don't have that and they need it. They need someone who is going to show up every day, regardless of how the day before went, and just saying, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a consistent, loving person that's in your life every day that you're here. Because I think that's the biggest thing that can be missing at times, is just that consistent, loving voice in their life.
And again, on the influence subject, before we move on to a description of the program, but you're walking in some pretty big footsteps. Mark Adams had a tremendous impact on this entire campus, not just in the school program. One of the original behavior specialists, and was here when I was just a tremendous heart for kids, and was outstanding in providing direction. How much of an influence was Mark in the way he did things on what you're doing now?
Very huge. Mark played a very important role in my time here when he was here. And the time I worked in residential, I worked first shift, so I was always down in the school helping with things. And I always had conversations, and I told him, I said, I'm going to do what you do one day. I wanted to be the next Mark Adams.
Oh, wow.
And they were very big shoes to step into, and he was greatly missed when he left here. There's a lot of things that I still can remember with him, where if the kids were struggling or not following direction, he'd tell them, put your toes on the carpet and heels on the tile. There was a carpet line, so he'd just make them stand there for a little bit until they wanted to straighten up, and then so there's a lot of things that I picked up from him as far as how he did things, and just he was a great man.
What made Mark so effective?
I think a lot of the things that he did that I've tried to do is just being very finding that balance of being very firm, but also having empathy, and just finding that fine line of just being very consistent with your instructions. Don't letting the instructions of what you need from your school change, and just continuing to find that balance of a loving, empathetic, but just very, I don't like using the word strict, but just a very firm expectations. Like, my lines don't change. These are the same expectations I have for you.
And of course, we talk about, being part of that family unit. We talk about the examples that people like Mark and some others have been able to provide for you, but it's most important for you to be Reggie. And have you been able to find that in 19 years?
Oh, most definitely. I feel most like myself. I walk through these doors. Like, there's just a part of me that is this place with how long I've been here. There's just a comfortableness when I walk through this door that, every time I come here, it's just, even when it's chaotic here, there's peace there for me.
Even when it's chaotic?
Even when it's chaotic. When you've been here 19 years, chaoticness and some of that stuff can feel a little normal.
Yeah, that's a lot normal. I want to talk about behavior specialists in just a moment, but first we do want to say thank you to another one of our supporting underwriting sponsors, and that's New Way Construction. Andy and the gang out at New Way Construction, where they build relationships. And we again say thank you to all of our sponsors, New Way Construction. Reggie, tell us what a behavior specialist does.
So I think some of it is kind of controlled by who you are as the person as a behavior specialist a little bit. There is a job description, but you can kind of make it your own. The way I approach it is I kind of view it as my job to kind of manage the school day, just kind of know where all the staff are in the classrooms. I have an office down there in the hallway. And I view it as a way to, one, build relationships with kids and just kind of walk through the school, greet the kids as they come into school, peek in the classrooms. If the kids are doing well, or if they're working hard, the teachers will give them breaks in my office, and we have a little basketball hoop there they shoot at. I collect a lot of behavior data on the kids while they're down there through different things in the classroom the teachers do, and just provide support if there's any outbursts that happen in the classroom and just different things like that.
How tough is it to be viewed from the outset as you're the discipline guy? And how tough is it then to build that trust to where you're a whole lot more than the discipline guy, and the kids find a way to find that?
Well, I think it's finding that balance where they know I'm not just the discipline guy. I think the biggest thing is just treating them as a person, and they understand. One of the things I work really hard at is, okay, so if you come to my office and you're in trouble, I'm going to come at you a certain way. I'm going to be a little bit different with how I'm working with you. But if you come down because you've done really well and you've earned a break, then you're going to get a little bit different side of me. And I want them to know that difference on how people are going to perceive them when they're people aren't going to want to be their best friend when they're acting up. Like it can drive a wedge in relationships when you don't behave a certain way. Now that's not saying that I'm mean to them or anything. It's just they have different expectations, and so I think they understand that, where it's like, hey, and even when I'm not in that role in the school, I'm just building those relations with kids, and it helps them a lot.
Well, there's a big difference between mean and firm,
right?
And the kids eventually come to understand what that difference is. The consistency aspect of it. You're dealing with an awful lot of young people who have no real consistency in their life, and it's one of the things that creates what you call the chaos. How difficult is it to create a consistency, and then getting the young people to believe in that consistency?
I think it takes a lot at first. What I noticed is that when you get that consistency finally in place, then as new kids come in, it's through them. They know those expectations. I'll have residents will say, I don't even have to tell the new kid that comes in. The resident will do it themselves. This is what Mr. Reggie's going to want out of you when you come to the office. So once you get that kind of infrastructure in place where people understand what your reputation is, it just kind of flows. It's easy.
Right. It's the SHARE is a residential education program, and it's designed to help, well, almost twofold. It helps young people get on track as far as their education is concerned, because either through no fault of their own or because of their own behaviors, they've got kind of bumped off the road. But at the same time, that they're also preparing them for them to go back wherever that next step must be. How involved are you in that planning process with the classroom teachers and with the educational leaders and that whole interdisciplinary thing for the program?
I am involved some as far as like the team meetings and things. Then I'll have conversations with the kids themselves, just as far as relating the day-to-day aspects of school to what it's going to look like when they go to public school. Just having those conversations with them and being like, if you do this in a public school, like you're going to get suspended or expelled. Like you can't do this stuff. And just walking through them with that, or even just walking through with them saying, where do you think this would have led you if you would have done this here?
Yeah.
And just having those conversations right there in the moment so they can connect the dots right away.
How good does that feel when a young person has that aha moment?
It feels good, but there are a lot of times when the kids are actually here that you don't even get to that sometimes. A lot of times it's just giving them that information and just having it there in their head. There's been numerous times where I've ran into a kid who, might have been 10 years after they were here, and, didn't really think that what I did much for them, but just hearing them just saying, hey, everything you said to me back then was true. I should have listened to you. It led me here and here. It took me a long time, but I was finally able to get it.
Yeah. I want to give you a little bit of time to think here. I'd like to get one or two of Reggie's greatest hits, some of your favorite moments over the last 18, 19 years. But while you do that, I'll give folks a reminder of the 99 Club while you kind of, go into the recesses of your brain and that kind of thing. But again, a reminder, you're listening to the Bashor 99 Club, bashor.org. Go to the website, click the 99 Club. You have an opportunity to donate. What we're doing is we're recruiting 99 friends. We're asking you to donate $99 that provide for the programs. You can make a designation, say, hey, we want to help Reggie out at the Share program or the education program. You can help for some of the Christmas things that are going on, or you can just make a general generic donation that helps us provide help for today and hope for tomorrow. It's the Bashor 99 Club. Again, bashor.org, and you click on the icon that says 99 Club. Encourage you to go to the website, even if you're not thinking yet about the 99 Club. But go to the website. There is a wealth of information about the programs and the mission here at Bashor Children's Home, and gives you an idea of all of the things, all the many different things that go on out here in this beautiful campus setting. Once again, bashor.org, click on the 99 Club. So Reggie, having given you at least a little bit of a warning of what's coming, but just if you would just share a story or two of a young person, and you mentioned that, sometimes you'll find them in the grocery store or somewhere out in town, a young person that made an impact on you because you made an impact on them.
I think there was I think how many years ago it was, but I don't necessarily know what kind of impact that I maybe necessarily made on them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of the first kids that I worked with that kind of made me realize the seriousness of what a lot of these kids faced here.
Mm.
And it was kind of hearing some of his stories, it kind of says, these kids really need you.
Mm-hmm.
He talked to me about how, he first time he rolled a joint with his mom when he was 6.
Oh my.
He would roll them for her, and he mentioned later on then that he had kicked in a door. This was when he was older, and his dad was in there, passed out with needles in his arm, and had passed away.
Ooh.
And so those stories from him kind of hit me pretty hard to say, hey, these kids aren't just facing your normal little hardships that you think about in life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, as serious as it is, a kid in the neighborhood pushing them down or something like this is like really serious things that they're facing that can really send them the wrong way. And so it kind of woke me up to a lot of what the depths of what this place is dealing with,
mm-hmm.
and what these kids are dealing with. Because, before that I was like, I'm going to come here and just play with some kids and play basketball and stuff like that.
And then you get an idea of just,
right.
What kind of an impact that you can have. You're a father. So, that kind of gives you a special kind of thing that, you see what some of these young people, what kind of impact does that have? The fact that, you're running, it's filtering through a father's eyes. And when you deal with these young people,
I think there was definitely a shift when I became a father, just even with how I was able to work with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a new level of empathy.
Right.
And there's even been a level where I've connected with some kids who are here that have kids of their own already. And just being able to have some conversations with them and be like, this isn't how you act. You have somebody out there who needs you home.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to have some of those real conversations with them. I think that's what a lot of these kids want, is they want people to be real with them. Sometimes you tell them things that they don't necessarily want to hear, but they need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to be real and straightforward with them.
Has it had an impact on how you approach fatherhood?
It has, in good and bad ways. I know that when working in the education department here, and then going and doing like parent-teacher conference with my kids, and sitting there, and the teacher's like, he was scribbling on his paper, or like, and I'm like, I'm dealing with kids throwing desks in class. Like, this is not that bad. Like, it has made it a little bit difficult sometimes to look at the behaviors and have kind of a normal view at times.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's things that I've learned here just as far as, being consistent and firm and just dealing with kids in general.
Well, it's just such a real eye opener. There's a line in your song that which I didn't know now what I didn't know then. And we work here, and your eyes are open to some of the things that are out there that you may have been not necessarily blinded to, but just simply not aware of. It really gives you some insight as to what young people and families are being challenged by today. And it makes a lot of difference. I want to talk about faith in a moment, but first we'll say thank you to Patrick Industries, another one of our participating sponsors, supporting sponsors. Patrick Industries, a better living starts with better materials. Thank you, Patrick Industries. Reggie, I've shared on this program and in some of the presentations that I make, but during my tenure here at Bashor Children's Home, my own faith was impacted by, I kind of laugh and joke that the Old Testament is formed with some pretty strange people who ended up becoming, establishing the faith of our fathers. And so I got to meet a couple of strange people here with Pastor Eric and Pastor Sam and the impact that they had on my own faith. It was just tremendous, especially Pastor Sam, who used to hold up that old duct tape Bible at the presentations that he would make, at the devotions he would lead, and challenge the kids. Don't take my word for it. Go find out for yourself. First of all, what 19 years here, growing up in a pastor's family is challenging enough, but 19 years here, how has it impacted your faith?
I think it was hard for me at times, the story I shared about the kid, just seeing some of those situations and wondering, where God is in all of that. For me growing up, one of the phrases that was always stuck in my head as a kid, is God is love. And for me, where I learned and felt love was from my parents. And so a lot of kids that come in here, the love that they got from their parents, where they were learning love, was being abused, hit, stuff like that. So when you try to equate that, it can be hard because, I don't, how do you have some of those conversations when they don't want anything to do with love? Because love is bad.
Well, yeah, and that fits right into one of my most impactful stories from when Pastor Sam was here. He had a young man in emergency shelter care named Jeremiah, and when he first arrived, Pastor Sam went to talk to him, and all of a sudden, as sometimes is prone to do, Jeremiah just exploded and said at the top of his lungs, "I don't want anything to do with your God." And Sam was kind of put back a little bit and said, "Why?" And Jeremiah said, "Well, let me ask you this question. When you pray, who do you pray to?" And Sam said, "Well, Father God." And Jeremiah looked at him and says, "You know my story. What makes you think I want to pray to my Father?" And those are the kind of things that, especially when you're in shelter care, but even now when you're in the SHARE program, those are the kind of things that you deal with that, boy, it is a walk of faith, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that what I got out of that, having those conversations with God about some of that stuff was, you're not going to say it with your words. You're going to do it with your actions. You're going to show it by, the one way I explain to people, there are times here when you're getting cussed at every word in the book and you're getting spit at. And I think it can give you just maybe a tiny small taste of what Jesus felt when he was carrying that cross down the road. And it can kind of give you a little understanding, and being able to come in the next day and be able to walk up to those kids and just put your arm around them and say, "Hey, you know what? It's a new day."
Well, and that's where an opportunity to serve here at Bashor really comes into play. I'm not sure how much folks can see with the camera, but we're surrounded by quilts that are provided by Covenant Church. Boy, I remember making the Sunday trip in November down to Covenant and being with Steve Connor, who was the pastor then, who's since moved on. But tell us a little bit about your experiences with these quilts, what you've seen, how the kids react to these.
They love them. When we have the Christmas program here for the residential kids, they all get some, and then we will take there's always more quilts than what we have residential kids. And so we'll bring the other ones down for the kids who get bused in here for school and in our alternative school. And when I worked in that part of the education program, they were always so excited in school when I would take them in there. We would have a couple kids who were like, can I take one of the small ones home with my baby sister?
Yeah.
They just were so excited to be able to have a blanket to call their own that somebody made for them.
Full confession, I have one. There was a golf themed one that a couple of the kids said, "Hey, you Mr. Turner, you like playing golf? Go ahead and take it." So, and I still have it, and I'm sure there's a lot of well, as a matter of fact, when Dave posted on the Bashor Facebook site that they were going to Covenant on Sunday, one of the residents or former residents said, "Hey, I still have mine." So it's just, the quilt is a tangible thing, but there are so many other things that happen on this campus that kids take home with them that it may not have had an impact today, but 5 years or 10 years down the road, it will have an impact. And that makes a difference. So Reggie, 19 years. What's next?
I don't know. I'm just here in the present. That's just taking each day at a time. I think that's how I've managed to be here as long as I have.
Putting one foot in front of the other and making it happen. Want to say another thank you to another sponsor, our fourth sponsor for the night, Genesis Products, elevating environments for work, home, and play. Thanks to John Wenger and his team out at Genesis Products. One more reminder, the Bashor 99 Club. This podcast is an opportunity for you to participate in supporting the mission. The 99 Club, we're asking $99 from 99 different members of the club. We've got a t-shirt that'll make you kind of like a super secret special member of that club. Go to bashor.org, click on the 99 Club icon, and join us in this mission of help for today and hope for tomorrow. So Reggie, if you were to just kind of give the elevator speech, if we were to plant you in a church or plant you somewhere in the community or wherever it was, when you say, what is it we do here at Bashor Children's Home? What is it we do?
I think exactly what it says. What you just said. We give kids hope. We take the time to treat them as an individual and love on them, and just plant seeds. I always tell people we're not here to change, can't change people, but you can give them the information they need and explain to them where it could lead them and where other choices may lead them, and allow them just to take it in and soak on it, and leave it up to them the rest of the way.
Here you go. Reggie, you make Matthew 25 come alive. I'll tell you something. If you sat by the sidelines every once in a while and thought about, I want to be Mark Adams someday, Mark would be proud. Be very proud. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us on the Bashor 99 Club. I'm your host, Vince Turner. Have a great evening.